ever been on a call where everything felt right? They loved you, they said all the right things, and then they ghosted you? That's not a sales problem. That's a decision problem. Here's the truth. Indecision kills more deals than rejection ever will. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you how the top 0.0001% sales professionals never chase the yes. They design it. That is a decision architect, the framework that collapses indecision, increases discovery to proposal conversions, and makes commitments the natural next step. Welcome back to Bosses Not Beggars, the podcast for high-ticket sales professionals and entrepreneurs who are done waiting for permission and ready to dominate the arena. I'm your host, Vivian Vial, the sales queen. From $500,000 in debt to building multiple eight-figure empires, I learned one thing. No one buys from pressure. They buy from power. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to create it.
This is Bosses Not Beggars, the podcast for entrepreneurs, leaders, and sales pros who refuse to chase scraps. Here, presence replaces pressure, alignment replaces manipulation, and influence builds empires. If you're ready to trade excuses for ownership and hustle for true freedom, you're in the right place. Welcome to the movement. Bosses Not Beggars with Vivian Vial, the sales queen.
Let's talk about what's really happening in that moment between interest and indecision. The invisible space where most professionals lose the sale. Here's the truth. Your prospects maybe isn't confusion. It's conflict between their desire for change and their fear of uncertainty. Their nervous system is scanning one question. Am I safe to decide? Every objection is just uncertainty looking for safety. That's why persuasion tactics, pressure, or fancy rebuttals fail, because they attack the intellect, not the insecurity. When you understand how the human brain processes decisions, you realize that most people aren't afraid of investing. They are afraid of regret. The elite professionals, the ones who convert effortlessly, know how to bridge that fear with precision language, emotional attunement, and safety engineering. They don't pitch, they guide. They don't try to dominate the conversation, they design it. The reason most professionals lose deals isn't lack of skills, it's lack of structure. Their conversations wander, they react instead of leading, they talk about features instead of futures. Okay, let's anchor this with the PPF framework: past, present, and future. Now, listen, this is not a gimmick. It's neuroscience-backed progression that mirrors how the brain evaluates risk. Example, past. Your client's past is their data. Every doubt, every failure, every disappointment lives there. Until you acknowledge it, you can't redirect it. Here's an example. Tell me what's kept this problem alive for so long. That disarms defense and opens their story. Present. The present is their reality, and reality needs confrontation. You can ask, what is staying the same actually costing you right now? Every moment you help them measure their current cost, you're actually increasing their urgency for transformation. Future. The future is the emotional anchor. This is where they meet their next identity. You can ask, if nothing stood in your way right now, what would the next version of you look like? This is where belief replaces hesitation. People don't pay for solutions. They pay for relief. Now, let's go deeper, because this isn't just psychology, it's physiology. When someone hesitates, their amygdala, the brain's fear center, activates. That spike of uncertainty floods their body with cortisol, hijacking rational thoughts. Your job as a decision architect is to regulate that state through pace, tone, and calm authority. And that's why the best professionals sound grounded. They are the safety signal. Here's a tactical truth. Your energy sets the nervous system of the room. If you rush, they resist. If you ground, they decide. Because your state teaches their brain whether it's safe to move forward. You can lead someone to certainty while living in your own chaos. Every conversation has two sales happening at the same time. One logical, one emotional. The logical sale is about value. The emotional sale is about safety. Until you close both, the yes can't land. So when indecision shows up, don't push. Pause. Ask better questions. Slow the tempo. Help them process, not panic. Because clarity doesn't come from more talking. It comes from emotional calibration. When you learn to master that state, you don't just close more deals, you create more transformation. Because sales isn't about pressure, it's about peace. That's why when I say you can make anyone beg to buy your high ticket offer, I don't mean manipulation, I mean mastery. Because the highest level of influence isn't forcing a yes, it's architecting an environment where yes becomes the only aligned option. Let's break it down. Inside the Influence OS, I teach a system called decision pathways. It comes with tools like the decision flow map, the discovery scorecard, and the stick rate sheet. Here's how it works in real time. Step 1, the discovery scan. Use discovery questions to uncover emotional patterns, not just surface problems. Questions like, what would staying the same cost you in the next 6 months? What happens if nothing changes for the next year? These are mirror questions. They force awareness, which precedes decision. They're not there to interrogate, they are there to illuminate. Your tone, pacing, and pauses matter more than your script. Every time you ask a question that reveals the truth beneath their words, you bring them closer to a state of self-recognition. The moment where they realize they can't unknow what you've made them see. The best professionals don't tell people what they need, they make them see it. The discovery scan isn't about diagnosing a problem, it's about collapsing the emotional distance between their pain and your solution. The goal is to lead them into awareness so powerful, saying yes feels like a release, not a risk. Step 2, the PPF walkthrough. You lead them through past, present, and future using emotion and clarity. Here's what you've been through. Here's where it's still costing you. Here's who you become when you change it. That's not persuasion, that's precision. But here's the secret most professionals miss. This flow mirrors how the brain encodes memory and makes decisions. When you bring someone's past pain into conscious awareness, their brain begins to seek resolution. When you connect that to their current cost, you create urgency. When you paint a clear future identity, you activate the reward system. It's biochemistry, not just communication. The PPF flow doesn't sell your offer. It rewires their decision loop. When done right, you're no longer selling. You are orchestrating an emotional journey that ends in self-commitment. Because here's the truth, no one wants to be convinced. They want to feel certain. Step number 3, collapse indecision. When uncertainty appears, don't chase the yes. Build safety instead. Use silence, reframe the fear, and return them to their future identity. It sounds like you're trying to protect yourself from another disappointment. Let's make sure this time your decision comes from clarity, not fear. That is presence. That's power. This is where mastery lives. The amateurs panic when objections arise. The elite slows down. They understand that resistance is not rejection, it's a request for reassurance. Every objection is an invitation to regulate, not to react. To collapse indecision, you must hold the frame longer than their fear. You must embody the calm their nervous system is searching for. The longer you can stay neutral and confident, the faster they borrow your certainty. And when they borrow your certainty, they buy their future. Because influence at this level isn't about convincing, it's about co regulation. Your voice becomes the bridge between their hesitation and their highest decision. Once you master this framework, persuasion becomes obsolete. You don't have to push for the close. The client asks for it. If you want to see how this works in real time, I've built you a free resource. Go to vivianvial.com/decision flow and download the decision flow map. It's the exact tool I use to design certainty on every single call, from discovery to close. Once you use it, you will never run another sales call conversation blind again. You don't need more scripts. You need better systems. Persuasion is what you do when precision is missing. When you operate like a decision architect, you don't sell. You design neutral certainty. You make the buyer's path feel inevitable, not pressure. And that's why elite professionals convert 80% of their discovery calls. They've engineered a decision flow so clean that resistance can survive inside of it. Here's the difference. Beggars pitch solutions. Bosses design decisions. Beggars chase objections. Bosses preempt them. Beggars push offers. Bosses pull awareness. When you become a decision architect, your power is in your hands. You're not attached to closing the sale. You're committed to leading the decision. And when you can lead decisions, you can lead anything. Teams, clients, investors, empires, because the skill of influence is the skill of life. Here's your assignment this week. Go back to your last few sales calls and review them. Ask yourself, where did you lose emotional safety? Where did you skip the PPF flow? And how can you rebuild that pathway so their decision feels inevitable next time? Because bosses don't chase yeses, they design them. You are not a closer. You are a decision architect. Design the yes. Here's the truth. Influence isn't about manipulation. It's about mastery. The best professionals don't chase validation. They command certainty. They don't need to convince anyone because they've built the kind of presence that makes saying yes feel safe. Presence pays, precision closes. You don't need another script. You need emotional architecture because bosses don't sell. They engineer commitment. And this is where mastery becomes magnetic. When your energy communicates certainty, you don't pull people in, they lean in. Your tone, your breath, your conviction, it all tells the buyer's nervous system you can trust this moment. Because when your presence is anchored, their fear dissolves. Your energy sells before your words ever do. When I say make 81 bag to buy your high ticket offer, I mean this. Build so much emotional congruence that the buyer feels relief in your confidence. They don't say yes because you asked for it. They say yes because you embodied safety, vision, and certainty. That is real power. Here's the truth. Mastery isn't about who talks best. It's about who feels safest in the sale. When you hold that calm, you don't close a transaction, you create a transformation. And that's how empires are built, not through pressure, but through presence. Transformation doesn't come from pressure. It comes from precision. So here's your move. Practice stillness before every single sales conversation. 2 minutes of grounded breathing, one clear intention. I lead with certainty, not need. That simple calibration shifts your physiology and rewires your power. Because when your body is calm, your authority becomes contagious. Listen, this is the edge the top 0.001% perform from. They don't chase, they calibrate. They don't sell, they structure emotion. They don't hope for the close, they design it. Every call becomes a mirror of mastery. Every sale becomes proof of alignment. And every time they lead from that level, the world responds in kind. The market mirrors your energy, not your offer. If you are ready to embody that level of precision, go to vivianvial.com/decision flow and download the decision flow map. It's not just a tool. It's your playbook for engineering certainty in every single conversation. Because bosses don't wait for opportunity, they build architecture around it. Bosses don't push for results, they create alignment that makes results inevitable. I'm Vivian Vial, the sales queen, and this was Bosses Not Beggars. Because building an empire requires ownership, not excuses. If this episode hit you, make sure to share, subscribe, and DM me on Instagram or TikTok at Bosses Not Beggars. Let me know what was your aha moment, and I will see you next time.